Good afternoon and welcome to HistoryGeo Basics with the Plano Public Library's Genealogy Center. And because I can't see the count trickling in, somebody's gonna have to give me a heads up when it kind of stabilizes a little bit. Before we get started, we're gonna wait a few minutes, allow time for people to join and go over some of the Zoom basics here. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can type them in the chat box. If you aren't able to answer, or if we aren't able to answer your question during the webinar, a staff member will follow up later with you. And just remember your mics have been muted, so please use the chat box if you have any questions. We ask that you please be respectful when making comments, please.
Okay, it looks like we've leveled out some, so if you want to go ahead and get started.
Excellent, excellent. Again, thank you for joining us for HistoryGeo Basics. My name is Trey. I am joined with Sarah, the voice in the background there.
Hello.
We will be doing HistoryGeo Basics. We're going to look at some of the basic site navigation. It's going to go through a presentation and it's going to be seemingly kind of fast, but I'm going to go back into the wild, so to speak, and we'll actually look at the resource, but I'm going to go through a few slides fairly quickly. And we'll give y'all a quick introduction. So as I said, we're going to do a quick introduction. We're going to identify three main resources. And we're going to learn some basic site navigation to discover what each of these three sections has to offer. So when you go to HistoryGeo, and I will point out that HistoryGeo is currently only available in the library only. It's not available remotely from home. So if you come to any of the 5 public libraries here with Plano, any of our 5 locations, you can have access to HistoryGeo. I guess the caveat, Davis may be out of service at the moment due to remodel. But we're going to take a look at the first Landowners project. And a new feature for them is the place finder with the topographical maps. And a look at their antique maps collection. So HistoryGeo is a service of the Arfax, I think I'm pronouncing that right, forgot to check, publishing company, and they've been around since 2005. And since about 2007, they've launched these web tools, and this is really kind of what they envision, having these tools online to be able to search a lot of different records compiled into kind of one pretty handy resource. The first Landowners project displays the original landowners of the continental United States according to state and federal documents. And currently the first Landowners project covers 21 states with over 9 million records. As I said, a fairly new feature for them is the placeholder plus topos. And this is where you can find places throughout the continental US. You can locate by a geographic feature, such as creeks, streams, churches, cemeteries, mountains and rivers. Or you can look up things by the name of the county, town, city, civil township. And you can also find USGS topo quads, the topographic maps, and many other name types. They have things that you can search by. And you can view one or more of the topographic maps of the site you've searched. Some sites have different topographical maps, quite a few, and a lot of them that I was playing around with just had a single topographic map in their collection for that particular location. Their antiques map collection, or antique map collection, the title says it all, is just a growing collection of antique maps and atlases, and new items are always added to the collection as they are discovered. So we're going to take a quick look at the first Landowners Project Helper. And these are, I can show you where to find these when we go live into HistoryGeo. But they have a number of helpful resources off their site where you can find these quick guides to what some of the navigation features are. You can find a number of videos, some fairly short videos broken down by some of the specific sections, and then the longer overall videos across for the whole of, say, the first Landowners Project or the antique maps. So you've got a number of tools across the top. Next to their logo there, you can see you can start with just doing a simple surname search. The little magnifying glass is where you execute the search, and a real simple resource where you can clear your search and start fresh. Down that left-hand column, you've got some icons, and you got a little explanation of what some of these are. And again, we'll play with these in a little bit. Down the right-hand column, you have a few more tools where you can do the county browser. You've got 4 other items here: My People, snapshots, markers, and migrations. Now, these are some really cool tools. The caveat is if you have your own subscription to this, those might be more useful to you as you're going through the HistoryGeo, the libraries edition. It's kind of like Ancestry, the library edition, where you, as a library's account, you really can't make use of the family tree resources. These are kind of like some of those resources that might not get really full service unless you have your personal account. Some of the advanced tools with the first Landowners Project, right next to where that little button we were seeing earlier. And I forgot to bring out my handy dandy laser pointer here. Right here next where you clear your searches, you've got this advanced option, drop-down menu, and you can jump to the place finder tools and the topos. So that's one way you can jump to. If you've already searched for a section, you can then jump over an advanced tool and look at that view in the place finder tool. And again, this over here on this right-hand column within the county browser, you've got some other ways to interact with the view and searching within counties and within the states. So with the new place finder with topos, this is a really cool feature. You can search place names on the top of the viewer. This is for the entire continental US, not just the public land states and Texas as the first Landowners Project. You can browse by geographic or political feature, and you can also jump out into third-party tools like Google Maps and kind of get an idea of what maybe something looks like today, overlaid onto some of the historic stuff, which is kind of fun, really fun. You can see how some of the highways have changed course throughout history. And again, these tools, I will show you where to find these helpful guides once we're in the wild in the resource. Any questions so far? Like I said, we're going to go through this one pretty quick and then jump in kind of live and look at the resource.
We just had one question asking if this included info from Texas, and I responded yes. So the first Landowners Project will have information for Texas, same with the place finders and the topo maps. The antique maps, it depends. I don't believe there are any for Texas right now, but they are always adding information. So maybe someday it will include that.
Yeah, sadly, I was looking for some really cool maps to showcase when we were in the live, and I didn't really find any good maps for Texas. I don't know why. That's something I'd be curious to ask them and find out. But yeah, okay. So with the Antique Maps collection, this is also a pretty cool resource. And it includes a growing collection of antique maps and atlases. And like I said, you can search by names, you can search the maps for surname, or just browse through the collections. You can interact here with the search maps, search surname, or you can just browse and you've got a number of options, drop down menu here. This one happens to be default when you go to this page, or the search feature. It's United States Landowners. Happens to start with, when I was playing around with it, I just went to this Vermont and Washington County because it was a real pretty map, and we'll take a look at that later. Navigating back and forth sometimes was tricky, and then I realized, silly me, we got this drop down right here in this corner. So we're on the Antique Maps collection here. You've got the drop down menu here, so you can bounce back over to the First Landowner project or the Topo Maps and the Place Finder by just opening up that feature. Or not feature, but drop down menu. So at this point, I'm going to try to seamlessly jump over into the wild here. Let me get over here. So please tell me if you're seeing the HistoryGeo.com.
Yes, we are seeing that. We have another question.
Certainly.
Can we print these maps when they're at the library, or parts of the maps that apply to their family?
I don't remember. I'll have, when we get in the wild, we'll take a look at that. I think there is a way, if you had an account, you can save and place personalized markers for things, and that factors into how you can create this little animated migration path. This is a really cool tool, and we can play around with that. But like I said, that's everybody can see that, I believe, with the library's account. So you really don't want to put too much information on that when you're here, because I'm not really sure that that goes away between users on that one. We'll have to play with that one. But yeah, we'll take a look. We'll take a look when we jump over here. So when you navigate to the, and I will show you how to navigate real quick. I guess I should have done that first. I always just kind of quickly go to visit, and it will eventually load this page, the Genealogy Center, and under further down the page, oh, did it do it? Yes. Genealogy Center. And my pages are taking forever to load. So you've got a whole bunch of resources here for the Genealogy Center. We're looking at this genealogy resources online here. And wait for it. Oh, real apologies here. I don't know why it's so slow for me. So here's our genealogy resources, all picked out of our larger list of resources for the library. Easy to find, quick grouping. So you're just going to click on that HistoryGeo. Actually, I've opened it several times. That's why it goes here. The default view would normally access it for the first time would go to this page. And you have your choice. You can jump into the First Landowners Project Antique Maps Collection or the Place Finder plus Topos. I'm going to go to the First Landowners Project. So just like in the big view, we're presented with a continental US here, and you can jump in with doing the name search. So we're going to do Taylor as a surname. And we're going to go to Iowa. And we're going to go to Black Hawk County right here. So you hover on it, it'll tell you you can start the surname search. And give it a moment. Okay, boom. So it's drilled into the county. But I want to back up just a little bit. You see it found Taylors from across the US. So when you're looking at the larger grand view, I'm going to call it, lack of a better term, you can see these different numbers, 204 in Texas, 41 in Oklahoma, 102 Kansas. So these numbers represent how many counties within a state have Taylor's surnames in search results. As you zoom in, find one with a fewer. Now we just go with Arkansas since we're here. As you zoom in, here we go. So I'm in Arkansas. As you zoom in, then that distribution of those numbers spreads out, and those numbers are within the different counties, how many name hits are within those counties. So let me go back up here to Iowa. There's 96 counties with Taylors. And as we drill in, let me go back to Black Hawk. Wait for it to resolve there. Okay, boom. And then it zeroes in on Black Hawk County. So you see some distribution of some numbers here. And if you click in on some of these, so you can see you've got these properties. We've got named and dates. You notice, well, that's a Cooley Ward C. Why is that? Well, if you click on that property, you're going to open up here and you're going to see, Judith Taylor, the patentee, also Ward C. Cooley. You can see the warranty was Thomas Cogswell and the patent date. You can see a lot of information here. You can see the location, you see the township and the range section. You can see what authority. So this was a Scrip Warrant Act of 1850. So probably for some military service. Got this land as a result for his service. And you can actually go to click on the view the Bureau of Land Management source here. Here you go, some of the same information presented, 160 acres. You can actually go to the image of the document, which is really handy. Though I'll warn you, it does take a good bit of time to load sometimes. And waiting. And waiting some more. There we go. So zoom in just a little bit here. So it looks like Judith Taylor, that says widow of Thomas Cogswell. He was a private. Really from this view, I can't really read the handwriting, apologies. But he was in the United States Infantry in the War of 1812, looks like. or the year of 1812. I can't. Probably served in the War of 1812 there. So you got some really cool information. A lot of detail actually looking at documents, which are always fun. Back out here. So I'm going to go back over. Actually, close that out. I can't
Would
see.
you actually go back into the document and show how you could save that if it's a document you would like?
Oh, certainly. I can't see the top part, so hopefully it comes up quicker. Front row. There we go. Move that out of the way. Why is it not loading? Here we go. So it looks like you have an option you can download through the BLM. And it looks like you should be able to print. Let's see what the download looks like here. So you download. Boom. So there you go. Real quick and easy from the BLM to download a PDF of that document you found. So that's real handy. Good question. Yes, forgot to share that. Somebody had to ask a question about saving and printing. Another cool feature here with the parcel details is you can really search through U.S. county boundaries. Some of the history of this particular area. So you can see in 1810, it was Indian lands, part of Louisiana territory. And then through the decades, you see how history has unfolded. So 1850, it became Black Hawk County, and it's been Black Hawk County ever since 1850 up through the 1940 census. You can see it doesn't have to be the one thing to remember with this county history. It doesn't have to be one of the land grant states or Texas. You can go see the U.S. County boundary histories for all of the continental U.S. It's really interesting, especially on the eastern seaboard. Throughout history, boundaries and names changed a lot in some regions. So you can see the progression of what was its name at what point in history, which is really cool to know. And helpful when you find those diaries or you find legal documents that, say one county at a certain time for a certain town or settlement that's now in another county. You can try to piece all that together, do a little historical sleuthing. And then you might see, chances are, if that was the Taylor was the widow of Ward Cooley, you can see some other Coolies. Maybe these were relatives. So you might have some ways to explore some allied families and maybe make connections and find data points that you didn't have previously. You can see this is a whole bunch of stuff, and it's overlaid on top of a map. If I zoom in here, this is Waterloo. If you look down here in this bottom left-hand corner, you've got Landowner Visibility. And this is a handy tool. So you've got all this stuff laid over all these heavy grid lines for the property lines. You can play with this slider. You can slowly kind of slowly fade those out. So you're trying to find where the property is in relation to modern times, or in relation to, drops it out of the map where you can see it better. You've got a couple of churches, so they might have cemeteries, graveyards nearby that might have some information for you. And then you can kind of fade those back in, whatever suits your visibility needs for locating your information. That's really handy. In County Browser, you can do a lot of the similar stuff here in this right hand. You can go Iowa, Black Hawk. Actually, let's do something different. I'm going to do Louisiana, Lincoln Parish. Wait for it to catch up here. If it will catch up. Maybe it will catch up. Oh, maybe I got to do something. Today, perhaps. There we go. It took a while to find a name. So you see that little flash of a red dot? You can, when you're searching for a name within a larger map, I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. You can do that really cool because I selected, zoom in because I selected the, well, it says county, obviously, Louisiana is parish. This is Lincoln Parish. So you can kind of flash. Here we go. So showing that location so you can kind of zero in like a treasure hunt, right? So just kind of some little fun features there. Some of the features over here, when I'm zooming in and out of, I'm just using, in my case, I've got a mouse with the little rolling wheel in the center. I'm just rolling it back and forth to zoom in and out. You also have the feature where you can just do use their tools here to the left. You also show and zoom out to the entire US. You can also locate a town or city with this feature, or locate a cemetery. Sometimes, let's see. There we go. Didn't like that. Bethel. Oh, it did. I just didn't I got impatient. Yeah, there's a little bit of lag and delay here. I just get impatient with my typing. So patience. That will be lesson 1. So with the Colvin surname, there's only a couple of cemeteries so named with that surname in Lincoln Parish. So this is just something to point out too. I happen to know that while this resource is only showing the 2 Colvin surname cemeteries in Lincoln Parish, I also happen to know that, let me flash oops, there we go. I happen to know that right here, and it doesn't show up on the map, curiously, right here in Unionville, right here in this section is a large cemetery and a not a church, it's more of an association gathering place, a family association. But this large cemetery is not marked. So the caveat is not everything will be marked, possibly, because I know there's a very extensive cemetery right here, and that's not identified in this resource. So some imperfections, but that's okay. That's probably going to find that through a lot of resources. Any questions so far? Like I said, I've been kind of playing with this.
Nothing really in the chat right now. We've answered a couple of questions about like where you can save documents to. You can save them to a flash drive or your computer, either which way, but otherwise no other questions. So just please type them into the chat if you have them.
Yeah, and somebody had asked earlier the question, you do have this camera feature, which I had forgotten about, where you can take a photo, take a snapshot of the current view. I'm gonna do that current view.
Okay, we do have a question.
Oh, sure.
Are Indian land allotment documents in Oklahoma, are those available?
There is one, I think it's the Cherokee land allotments, and I can show that later. That's in the Antiques Maps section. I have not seen them here through the First Landowners project, but I have seen that map in the Antique Map collection. Looks like you can also print the current view, should you want to or need to. You can save an image or you can print that view. So yes, those are two features for this resource. Okay. So let's go to, and that advanced feature I was talking about, here's the advanced tools. You can go to the place finder, open it, new window, use this window. And this is that drop down I was telling you about, where you can go to any of their three map viewers. First Landowners, which what we're on, Place Finder plus Topos and Antique Maps. We're going to go to Place Finder. Give that a chance to load. Kind of looks a lot similar. But you notice instead of the county browser, we have the Place Finder here on this right-hand set of resources. And again, we can do a lot of the similar stuff. With Place Finder, I go to Arkansas, and I'm going to go to Washington County. Okay, so that opens up. We'll go over here. And let's see, get it to flash, zoom to the county. Oh, because I haven't highlighted. Okay, so there's the county. So Washington County in Arkansas incorporates Fayetteville and Springdale. Looks like two of the largest settlements. So under the place type, if we're just looking for a place, we've got airport, arch, building. They've got a lot of things. Lakes, hospitals, post office, towers, valleys, reservoirs. They've got a few things. We're going to go to cemetery. And then it opens up this list of, here are the lists of the cemeteries that they have recorded in Washington County, Arkansas. So we're going to say that there. So we can flash and see where that is in the county. And then we can kind of zoom in here and see, okay, there's Salem Cemetery on Salem Cemetery Road. And this is what I was saying earlier. You have the option, you can jump out to some external map services. So this feature right here that I'm highlighting on the left, or sorry, the right-hand side. So we can either do the Google Maps satellite. Let's do that one because that might be cool. There we go, Salem Cemetery Road. And there you go. That looks like Salem Cemetery right there. Always fun. Close out of that. Now, since while we're still in the place finder, we're going to look at the topos, the topographical maps. So in case unaware, the topographical maps is just simply as a map showing the shape and character, the contours and elevation of the Earth's surface. And quads are short for quadrangle maps. These are maps that are produced by the U.S. Geological Survey covering the United States. And the maps are usually named after a local physical aspect, such as a city, a town, or it could be named after a land feature. So we can go look at the topographical maps by simply using this advanced tab and go into topo quads. If we back up here, now we have this orange grid, these little boxes in the top left corner. And since we were going to stay in Washington County here, Arkansas, click on this upper left corner within this quadrangle. Looks like they only have one, and it was done in 1958 is the one they're referencing. So now, if you click on that date, or whichever one might be in the list, you can zoom in. So this is Washington Quadrangle, or I'm sorry, the Fayetteville. Here's the name of the center, the Fayetteville Quadrangle from 1958. And you have, oops, went in too far. And then you can see roads, as it were, the contours, buildings, terrain features, Washington Mountain, Goat Hill, fun stuff. Or I love this, Puddin' Hill. Love those, love those. Those are fun. But you can see location of schools. There's a radio tower, at least, oops, went in too far again. If you zoom in too far, you'll get outside the quadrangle and back into, so you can kind of see overlay of what's currently. So you can kind of rock it back and forth in the view, or back and forth through your plus and minus key, and kind of get an idea. It would have been really nice if they had the slider, so you can kind of fade out the topo map over that current map. That would be kind of cool if they were able to do that. Any questions so far?
None currently.
Okay. And like I said, it could be named, like this quadrangle is named Fayetteville, because that's principal city there for that quadrangle. Wheeler, if I'm not mistaken, because I could not find a Wheeler as far as a settlement, but I did find in this quad, this was done in 1970. I did find somewhere was Wheeler Hill or Wheeler Mountain or something. So it might have been the highest peak in this region. I don't remember. I don't remember where I saw it. It was somewhere. But anyway, you get the idea. Now it's going to bug me. I'm going to have to go back later and look and say, where did I see that? All right. Now the fun one, I think this is kind of fun. Let's clear off some of these options here. And again, you want to clear search results. And we'll reset everything. At some point. Or not. Maybe I've been impatient again. Well, either way, we're going to go to the Antique Maps collection right here. Now, this one's fun. I'll give the caveat, don't be discouraged if you don't find a map and for the right time period that you want. They do have a pretty good, neat collection of antique maps and atlases, but for some areas, some regions, it's sparse. Like I said, when you come in, the default is the United States Landowners. It starts here with Alabama and looks like Colbert. I'm assuming that's how they pronounce it. County in Alabama. With this drop down here, and you can go in and search, again, you can search map names or surnames within the map. You have this drop down, so you've got general maps and atlases. Waiting for it to, there we go. So it looks like they just have a 1911 atlas is all they've got. And then you can drop down and you can find, let's see, Texas. And so then you're presented with a map of Texas, and I'm going to zoom in here to show. All right, so this is a Rand McNally and Company map of Texas. Looks like it was renewed the copyright. So this is circa 1910, 1911. So you can see the roads and the settlements circa 1910 or 1911. Go up here. So Plano's on the map. Allen's on the map. Some of the smaller settlements. Frisco got its founding in 1902. If I remember that correctly. It's not. But it's kind of hard to squeeze in a lot of those smaller settlements, right? Another example. I'm going to go Louisiana, because, you know, it's the only one that's parishes and not counties, right? And this too, let's see, where's the legend? So this too is around 1910, 1911. Zoom in, okay, so there's Lincoln Parish. There's Jackson Parish. And this is a fun one. So in 1910, 1911, Vernon was the parish seat for Jackson Parish. I forget when, off the top of my head, but the parish seat eventually moved to Jonesboro. It caused quite the kerfuffle, as I recall from reading the history. And a little fun fact, have family from there. When they moved the county or parish courthouse and all the parish records, they did so in the middle of the night under armed guard because there was such a fervor of splits in the community of where they wanted the parish seat to relocate to. So they up and did it in the middle of the night under armed guard. And I think my great-grandfather was one of those armed guards as they moved the parish records and goes, well, it's in Jonesboro now. Silly trivia. But that's some of the things you'll find and run into with the maps. Let's see. Somebody was asking about the Oklahoma. They do have, let's see if they got anything else. So they had looks like they have the index map overall here, and then they have the different townships. I haven't looked at one of the townships, so let's see. So this township map happens to be for the Choctaw Nation. What's the details of this one? Oh, and then it goes in further. So they've got some. So each selection you make might open up or narrow down map options, objects that you can view. I'm just waiting for the little circle to repopulate the selection. So here's a bend in the Arkansas River, another part of the Choctaw Nation. Does that answer? And then you can, I can search map contents from there. Not a large map, so you can kind of take in the detail. But if it's a larger map, more detailed, you could search over here on the right hand. Yeah, there's not going to be that there. Did that answer the earlier question about the Oklahoma and the Native American map selections?
I believe so, but if you were the one that asked that question, if you want more follow-up on that, just please put it in the chat and I can pass it along. Yes. Let's see, but she says, but does it show Indian Territory maps? So it does look like it's a Cherokee allotments.
Yeah. So this is the main index map. And forgive me, I'm not well versed in this particular aspect, so I don't know. I'll have to find an answer for you. Let's look here. What does this say? Oh, so you could click off of this to any crosshair to see the allotment map. So let's try that. As far as overall boundaries, I'm not sure. So, not sure. I'll confess I'm not well versed in this, so I don't know. I'm sorry.
All right, while you're looking, I will say we had another question about when you can come in to use this program. Is it available during all library hours? Yes, it
Absolutely.
is. As long as the library is open, you just have to be on the library network to be able to connect to the database. So as long as the library is open, you can come in and use this.
Absolutely. So with the U.S. landowners, I'm going to go back to that starting map. And I have a fun one that I wanted to show that because I was just doodling around looking at maps. I'm going to call it a doodle. And you notice that too, this is the list of the states for the landowners that they've got. And Texas is not in this list. So I don't know why Texas is not in this list necessarily. I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry. I forgot to ask. I was looking at Vermont. Oh, gotta wait for it to populate. And they have, so for the state of Vermont, they have 4 maps in the antique maps. And one happens to be for Washington County, Vermont from 1858. I'm gonna wait for it to load. I thought this one was real cool. So if you're looking, you've got relatives in Washington County, Vermont, this might be for you, but this is fun. Okay, come on. There we go. So, pretty large map. I'm going to start right here. So, map of Washington County, Vermont from actual surveys and a date, publisher. You've got your scale. What's beautiful about this map, besides being quite colorful, is they've got these wonderful images, illustrations in the maps. They also have these wonderful little smaller pullouts for different settlements and communities with the houses with the named persons and churches and cemeteries. Just wonderful detailed stuff. And as you can see into here, they even have some terrain features. Not exactly a topographical map, but it gets the point across. They also have rivers, cemeteries, schools listed. Here's a school. And again, just loads of these little settlement pullouts with the settlements named people and cemeteries. But y'all, here is the coolest. For me, it's the coolest thing. Oh, here's a big place called Depot Village. Had a woodshed, a machine shop. Oh, machine shop. That must have been, that was a railroad. So it must have been a rail yard in the roundhouse. So they, in 1858, they had a different way of marking railroads, looks like, on the maps. But what's fun, absolutely fun, is this map also includes business directory. So you've got the newspaper and printing establishments and where they're located. Attorneys, bankers, names of the business, names of the professionals. There's manufacturers and what they manufacture. Harness, iron foundry, blacksmiths, mechanics, dentists. Here's an artist. Here's a photographer. Oh, I'm sorry, photographist. And an ambrotypist, early form of photography. And then the list of merchants. These are just some wonderful things. So hopefully you'll get lucky and they may have some maps of really cool stuff here.
Okay, we had another question about, are there original Dutch land ownership documents in New York?
Don't know. Let's see. I haven't surveyed and gone to all states and looked, so it looks like New York has quite a good list of maps. What county might that have been in? Because I'm unfamiliar with the details.
Would this also maybe be under the, in Manhattan, they are looking for, would this also be under the first landowners part, or would you search? I think you could search both. Kings County. they say.
Kings County. Well, let's see what they have.
So yes, I believe you could look here under the antique maps, but you could also look under the first landowners database as well and see what information you have there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just strictly from the maps, I don't know. You just have to explore and play with these, but I would start with the first landowners and do the search through that, and then narrow down on the region and see if there's a map available. Because otherwise, I don't, other than just telling some of the names of the landowners on the maps, yeah, I would start with the first landowners project and do the search that way first, and then have to see if there's a cool vintage map that covers that. And then two, let's see. Looks like you still have the features off to the side where you can take a snapshot of the current view, or you can print it. Or again, you can do the custom marker. Like I said, the caveat is if you have your own subscription, then you can place custom markers where my great grandfather wrecked his bike right here on the edge of the river here, and you could put a little marker there. And of course, you can also you can search all the resource contents, and you can search by names as well. Louisiana did not have a whole lot of maps. I kind of was hoping, with Louisiana Purchase and everything, there would be like a whole bunch of early maps and something cool, but there's only 3. East Carroll Parish and Ouachita Parish are the only 2 that have maps. There is one long skinny map that goes from Natchez, Mississippi to New Orleans along the Mississippi River. And it literally has the landowners. And all I can say is I am so glad I was not a land surveyor, because I would have hated to survey land along a river, twisty, turny river like this. That would have been a nightmare. So, any questions so far? Anybody want to have me take a look at something?
We have one last question. Are Civil War maps listed?
Not specifically, but I haven't looked at the U.S. rivers here. Let's see what this. A steamboat map from 1866 and one from 1858. I've not seen a Civil War period map in this collection, but that's not to say that they don't exist, but I haven't looked at each and every one of the states. This was the long skinny map that I was thinking about earlier when I said a long skinny map. It literally is the steamboat route along the Mississippi River. No, that's a good question. I just do not know that answer. From the states that I've surveyed and looked at, I just haven't seen those from that period. Let's look at. I'll look at Mississippi, and then I'll look for another northern state, something in the Northeast, and see if there's. Oh, that's all they have for Mississippi is. That can't be right. All right, let's look at Illinois. Here's a couple of county maps, 1860, 1861 for Illinois. So maybe. I would almost guess that, especially during war years, there probably wasn't a lot of new land survey and map making, would be my guess. This is circa Madison County, 1861. That's the closest to the period that I've seen so far. That kind of answer the question? Just might have to play and explore with it when you come in.
Yeah, there's no other questions right now, and we are at the top of the hour. So if you have any final questions, please put them in the chat. Otherwise, we highly recommend that you come into the library and just come and play around with this yourself.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that coming up on August 16th, another Monday at 1 p.m., we're having a genealogy terminology class. And that's I believe that may be the last genealogy webinar for the summer season. Are any final questions?
No, just a lot of thank yous. This was very informative. Looking forward to using the program.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I just strongly encourage it. You're not going to break it. So come in, explore it, play with it. That's probably the best way of learning. Just play with it. And then once you kind of get a feel for how to navigate, how different things work, then launch into your serious search and see what you can ferret out for your family research needs. So thank you for joining us.